Over the weekend, a video went viral about a comic shop owner who lambasts the mainstream industry about their self-insert characters. This is something that's been widely known for a lot of years. The current crop of writers really don't have any talent. They don't know how to write Captain America or Thor or Spider-Man. They just put themselves in the suit and then try to make their entire characters about their own mental illness problems. Nothing exemplified this worse than the I Am Not Starfire graphic novel by Mariko Tamaki a couple years ago, where she literally just made herself the daughter of Starfire, this angry goth lesbian who was trying to, of course, just torpedo everything Starfire was about. And that's what we saw for a just awful graphic novel. Now, this stuff's been going on for a long, long time, and it has, of course, made for stories that are just destructive to comic shops. They can't sell them. So, of course, this went viral. Everybody was reporting about it in the mainstream comic industry, even just like the normie news. Ian Miles Chung made it go viral on X. And so this guy became famous overnight with his comic shop. You'd think that like comic writers would care about what comic shops owners say at this point. There's been numerous people saying that the woke content has been destroying the industries for years, but they always poo-poo it. They always just tell that these comic shop owners are just losers, etc. And now we see the same thing happening to this guy. These mainstream comic writers, led by the Whisper Network, are piling on this guy, and of course we'll cover this right now and show you exactly what's being said. All right, my name's John Delarose. Please give a like and subscribe to the channel if you love comics and you love this content. We are, of course, building a alternative in the future, and I really appreciate you guys for being there. So this is what we got right here. We have a situation where Jamal Igle, he's a person who led the charge against Comicsgate being started back in the day. He led a big portion of the Whisper Network back then. He's an artist for DC Comics, leading the charge to cancel this LCS owner. And so very interesting here. We have Gail Simone commenting, and she's often involved in a lot of these controversies. This is a tiny clip of a much longer video. The gentleman has had his story 30 years. My hat is off to him. I've watched his videos. They're good fun. So at least she's being kind to the comic shop owner. She knows where the books sell, and she knows exactly who she needs to be kind to. Kudos to Gail Simone on this. But if you look at Jamal Igle, he starts criticizing the guy. Who is this lovely individual? That's, of course, sarcasm, meaning that, this guy's some loser. We should start to denigrate, is what he's telling his fans, what he's telling his fellow colleagues here at this point. And, of course, we get more comic shops. This is from Comic Book Herald, a mainstream comic book news site, where owners' opinions can be as antiquated as their business model selling paper magazines. Oh, so denigrates there. Of course, the comic book news wants the comic book shops to fail. So does Jamal Igle. Very odd. And of course, Jimmy Palmiotti was forced to delete his comment about this because he just wanted to talk about this. He says, "Is it something I tell newer writers all the time? Read their histories of the character, understands the motivations and why the audience fell in love with them." Very smart stuff. Jimmy Palmiotti has a lot of good takes. It will help you understand who they are, and if you change anything about them, it fits in line with who they are. And then if you look at this, he was forced to delete the post. He says bad energy it was bringing. Amazing how some people can't handle a civil conversation anymore. And it's because the personal is political at this point. This guy is talking about how bad the writing is, which really comes down to the woke writers that are coming in at this point. And they know that like their style of writing is a political topic, right? It's all about politics for them. So if Jimmy Palmiotti, who has a lot of talent and is doing something good in comics usually, he says something counter to their narrative, it becomes a political topic to them, and they have to lambast him over this. Now, probably the most egregious comment that was made out of this is Donnie Kates. Donnie Kates goes off on this guy. Don't you hate how when you go to a hardware store, how the guy behind the counter always tells you how much the hammers suck? Well, maybe if, you went to a hardware store and there was a brand that was making hammers that fell apart when they hit a nail, the guy would direct you, the customer, hey, don't buy this one at Home Depot. Buy this brand. It's a little more sturdy. And that's exactly what this guy's doing. Now, Donnie Kates has to lambast this guy because he's part of the Whisper Network. He's part of this whole crew that, wants this to continue on the political realm. He's been very critical of anybody who's critical over comics for years, and he has big, thin skin. We know this at the end of the day, too. There's some worse stuff going on with him. We'll cover that in a video tomorrow. Now, here it is. Louis Fillet, who posts here, when I buy a hammer, My expectation is that it doesn't groom children into a suicide cult. Hilarious. Donnie Kates, of course, decided to quit the internet for the evening in response to that because, again, it's just about politics with these guys. They don't want to hear that there's problems with the industry. They don't want to admit the problems with the industry. Now, Mark Miller had the best take as usual because, of course, he's been smart out there. He doesn't care what the Whispered Network says anymore. And so he says this vid has been everywhere the past 24 hours, rightly so. The rest of us are armchair generals declaring the news from the front. Comic retailers are in the trenches and seeing exactly what's going on. He's clearly passionate about the direct market and upset about what's been done to it. And so, yes, this is how you should treat those people who are selling your products. Thank you, Mark Miller. And gosh, Donnie Kates, you owe this guy an apology. I mean, the guy like sells your products. Like, why would you go on and treat him like he's some sort of like scum loser who's just not worthy of your books out there? I mean, what hubris by these people in the comic book industry. But this is exactly what it's been. These guys get huge egos. They sit there, they're like, oh, I get to write fan fiction for Spidey Man. And then people like Jamal Igle are like, oh, I've drawn Green Lantern's dick. and they act like they're, these big shots for just doing fan fiction draftsman work rather than creating their own properties. It's really sad at the end of the day, but it exemplifies exactly what this guy's been saying. And of course, we appreciate this guy who's making his retail comic shop and hope he does well in the future and hope that the mainstream actually starts to listen to him. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.